The Infernal War was the most recent mass-scale war in Ichoros. It spanned years 611 to 618 of the Age of Conquest, ending just 13 years ago as of the creation of this record. However, the seeds of this war were planted in the distant past. Several incredible and supernatural events are associated with the Infernal War. Prophecies, mighty and forbidden magic, the reincarnation of gods, the Luminous Procession, these and many more surround this most fated of time periods in the history of Ichoros. This record covers several historical moments, as many pieces are necessary in order to grasp the full impact of the Infernal War. Furthermore, a general familiarity with the War of Three Dooms is also helpful for understanding the complete meaning of the Infernal War. The Age of Cataclysms. The first eon of the world is known as the Age of Cataclysms, during which gods, titans, and other beings of superior power existed physically in the world, battling one another in epic clashes. The Age of Cataclysms spanned unknown millennia. Due to this open-endedness, its years are recorded in reverse order, counting down until year 1. The earliest event documented by mortals is circa year 3100, which is the death of the god Mitra Satsil, he who is known as the Mithril Dragon, the sire of all dragonkind. He was slain in the realm of Jaya by the archfiend Ashmodai, the leader of fallen angels in the dread domains of hell. Due to the immense power that gods possess, death affects them in peculiar ways. Their spirits enter diminished, latent states, and sometimes are exiled to the edges of the cosmos. The physical bodies of fallen deities typically become as huge statues, known as corpus idols, though there are exceptions, such as in the case of Illus the Lantern. His death occurs in the year 877, when he is slain by the titan Vorstbrand. This takes place at Illus's temple palace of Omenmox in the realm of Gleomir, which is modern-day Drekengrim. Upon Illus's death, his body bursts in a tremendous explosion of light, and fragments of it are flung across the realms, cooling and hardening into prismatic shards. Soon after this battle, Vorstbrand perishes from a curse Illus placed on him. By this point in history, very few beings of superior power still exist in the world. The frequency of their conflicts is greatly reduced. Deities, titans, archfiends, and other tremendous powers have battled for control of the material plane, and throughout their struggles, they have slain or banished one another. Through these clashes, their blood, known as Ichor, seeps into the world itself, which gives rise to its very name, Ichoros. When the material bodies of gods die, it causes many supernatural effects. Ichor infuses supernatural power into the world. The terrain and atmosphere thus have ambient forces, which mages draw upon to cast arcane spells. Some places have high amounts of these forces, making them wondrous and mythic locations. Precious metals and gemstones absorb traces of Ichor. This is what gives them their monetary value and their supernatural properties, which provide magical energy and make them effective as sacrifices. Ichor causes transformations in various kinds of creatures, turning certain beasts and people into magical beings and monsters. Some years before his death, Illus the Lantern had created a council of celestial arbiters known as Tessari Decana, the Overseers. Illus gave them the power to create a single new god, which was Argus the Watcher, a living citadel made to defend Basagon, which is a large island and archipelago at the center of the world, in the very place where the divines had originally created mortal life. In the year 638 of the Age of Cataclysms, the Tessari Decana issue a cosmic law declaring that beings of superior power are forbidden from direct presence on the material plane. The spirits of the ethereal plane are in accordance with this law, for they wish that the world never again be a battlefield for such cataclysmic forces. This interplanar law is known as the Great Concordance. At this point, the final god living physically in the world is Argus the Watcher. He is the last one standing when the epic scale warring comes to an end. Stubborn and prideful, Argus refuses to ascend from the world, considering it a point of honor and duty that he remain the keeper of Basagon. The gods are locked in debate on how to uphold the Great Concordance. This debate includes Tsari the Overseers, and those gods who have sufficiently recovered from their diminished states after their physical deaths. Meanwhile, the spirits of the ethereal have no such debate. They gather and descend upon Argus the Watcher. After 40 days of ceaseless attack by hosts of primal spirits, Argus perishes, still standing upright. His armor, shield, and weapons oxidize, making his corpus idol resemble a giant of patina and calcification. The peoples of the Middle Isles. The Basagon archipelago, particularly the main island, Basagon City, is famous for the variety of peoples and creatures who populate it. This array of life is due to the many waves of migration and conquest that Basagon has seen over the centuries. Looking into this realm's distant past, there were 4 original peoples: the Basagonian, humans whose name literally means jar makers, the Horned Ones, the Minotaur clans, the Bearded Ones, the Dwarf clans, and the Glantazides, also humans whose name literally means revelers. Circa the year 2800 in the Age of Cataclysms, Basagon City is established, with the Labyrinth Lord cutting a covenant with these 4 peoples of the Middle Isles. The city grows over time, developing into other cities and eventually a metropolis that covers the entirety of the main island. Basagon becomes the jewel of civilization and the Mecca which holds the highest amount of corpus idols. This also means it is ripe for internal and external conflict. The geography of Basagon is incredibly unique, as its various districts are separated from each other by bewildering labyrinths, thus giving it the moniker City of Mazes. The Age of Cataclysms, as stated, is dated in reverse order, with its years counting down. The event to which this countdown is related is when the Malesis elves from Gildus conquer a section of Basagon. This is the first time a foreign power has gained a hold in Basagon, and it ushers in the Age of Conquest. The Malesis cultivate the Splintwood and the Malesis plantation, and they build the Palace of Mitra. At this point in time, Mitra sought Seal the Mithril Dragon as a long-lost and forgotten god. The Malesis bring their cults of the elven goddess Mitra the Worm of Life and Death, who is depicted as a limbless worm, that's WYRM, with a head like that of a woman. Very early in the Age of Conquest, the Glantazides of Basagon gain territory in southern Magnaland. The areas they claim are mostly wilderness in the beginning, though a few centuries later they carry out ambitious and bloody conquests in many regions of Magnaland. The Glantazides, much like the Basagonian, is composed of a number of great houses, ancestral bloodlines with honor and wealth. The most prominent and wealthiest of them is House Xanthos. In the year 180 of the Age of Conquest, members of House Xanthos begin making pacts with archfiends for supernatural power. They conquer more territory in Basagon City, in particular the northeastern districts of High Table and Altum Atrium. New, beholden noble houses are established, such as Stravasa and Detroxy. Those who wield infernal magic are shocked when their children are born with devilish features. These traits, both physical and personality-based, pass on to future generations. This bloodline curse thus commences the Tiefling race. Within 70 years, the members of Xanthos and their closely related beholden houses have become entirely tiefling. In the year 460, Xanthos and a number of noble dwarf clans ally with each other, thus forming the Xanthos throne. They become the wealthiest faction in the history of Basagon. Nargoy the Three-Headed. The evil-aligned plane of Hell, properly known as the Dread Domains of Hell, is a place of corruption, vast and dark. Some evil-aligned gods dwell there, though even more numerous are the Archfiends, who are highly intelligent fiends of superior power. They are the mightiest of demons, devils, and other evil spirits. Many Archfiends rule their own domains in Hell, expressing their malevolent will over their subjects and the landscape. One such Archfiend is Nargoy, the Three-Headed, whose domain is the Tower of Ash and Frost. Originally, Nargoy is a giant, a three-headed lord in Gorthael Koth, the kingdom of Western Jaya. For many long years, he lives in the world and is known for his great abilities in warfare and artifice. He eventually becomes involved with Ashmodai, the prince of fallen angels, and descends to Hell to become his master of artifice. Infernal corruption transforms Nargoy into a powerful devil over time. After serving for centuries, he breaks away from Ashmodai, gathering his own followers and erecting his Tower of Ash, where magical armaments and machines of war are constructed. Nargoy later goes on to lead a conquest of an extremely cold region of the Dread Domains. His forces defeat the ruling Archfiend there, and Nargoy claims a powerful magic item known as the Frozen Heart of Hell. As well, he claims the rank of Archfiend. His obsessions with artifice and magic only grow, as does his ambitious pride. In the late 5th century of the Age of Conquest, Nargoy begins to clandestinely bargain with various powerful magic users in the mortal world, using his agents there. He dares not attempt to physically enter Ichoros due to the Great Concordance, and thus relies on divinations and portals to trade arcane secrets with archmages in Magnaland, and with elder rune carver giants in Western Jaya, and with the highest dragon sorcerers in Eastern Jaya. He provides them with partial knowledge of how to create superweapons known as alabons, and in exchange, these contacts provide him with knowledge of interplanar magic and with rare arcane components that he could not otherwise access within Hell. In the year 525, war breaks out in Jaya. It is called the Kingdom's War at first, but within 3 years the fighting spreads to other parts of Ichoros, and the conflict is renamed the Realms War. By 536, the magic users who had traded knowledge with Nargoy a few decades ago have completed functional alabons. They unleash devastating mass weapons in Jaya, Magnaland, and to a lesser extent, Drekengrim. The loss of life is unimaginable. Jaya, which historically had many fertile regions, is reduced to blasted wastelands, and the majority of its population perishes. Many regions of Magnaland are devastated, suffering extreme losses of life, and much of its territory and the Sea of Dreams are left shrouded in blight mists. Northern Drekengrim is devastated, and even though its central and southern regions suffer no such apocalypses, the realm becomes isolated due to the arcane mists engulfing the sea. The war is ultimately named the War of Three Dooms, and many lament it as the most lethal event of the Age of Conquest. Little did anyone know that it was the Archfiend Nargoy who provided the information that led to the construction of the alabons to begin with. Such devices are unanimously condemned by leaders across the world. Alabons are outlawed to the highest degree, and any known records that contain information regarding their construction are destroyed. Anji the Hummingbird in Phantasmagencia. In the late 6th century of the Age of Conquest, a boy named Anji is born to a human father and an elven mother in the village of Brawlton in Magnaland. The center of the village has a raised beacon of white flame, a sturdy column of stone with a brazier atop it whose bright light never extinguishes. These flames mysteriously appeared when the dread mists fell across the land after the War of Three Dooms. The fire provides a radius of protection that spans miles and holds the arcane blight at bay. Anji's father is an eccentric adventurer obsessed with prophecy and esoteric knowledge. He disappears on an expedition into the mists, which devastates Anji's family. Curiously, he left Anji an unusual item, a plain mask of white leather. Anji experiences strange dreams, and he often remembers his father raving about a mithril dragon who would make a glorious appearance. As far as anyone knows, no such dragon exists. One night, Anji awakens from the grips of a disturbing dream in which he died and was reborn in a body of pale silver. He takes a walk in the cold air to clear his head, and a stranger appears to him, a dark druid named Ragnarok, who claims he can walk through the blight mists unscathed. He offers to lead Anji to Kostroma, the capital of Magnaland, which lies at the southern edge of the continent, well beyond the mists. It would be a new life away from the grief and the arcane blight. Anji initially refuses, but as the weeks pass, his dreams continue. Questions burn within him. Is his father gone forever? What is the meaning of the mask? Would this great mithril dragon truly come? He realizes fate is calling him to something greater. Against the pleas of his mother and his sister Twyla, he leaves with Ragnarok, the Blightwalker. After what seems like a clouded nightmare, Anji arrives in Kostroma. Ragnarok says he will collect repayment for the passage at a later date, and he leaves the half-elf to fend for himself. Without money, home, or friends, Anji takes to living as a street thief. His natural agility and luck serve him well, and his mask hides his identity. On several occasions, he narrowly avoids capture, earning himself the moniker of the Hummingbird. After a time, his luck falters, and he is imprisoned. He is sold to a pitmaster and sent by ship to Basagon to serve as a gladiator. In the City of Mazes, Anji utilizes his hummingbird style in the fighting pits and always wears his iconic mask. The pitmaster pays for him to be trained in an exotic martial arts style, which proves a wonderful complement to his innate abilities. Anji grows in fame and skill. 3 fellow arena competitors come to fight alongside him as a team. Pyros, a fire sorcerer with draconic ancestry in his blood. Yoni, a dark elf lore master and bardic mage. And Peleos, a warrior, tracker, and dungeoneer. After their success in the clash at Onyx Isle, Anji and his companions win their freedom and their citizenhood in Basagon. They found their own adventuring company, naming it Phantasmagencia. They soon become involved with the Melissa's Hold faction, which leads them onto a series of bewildering expeditions. In the underground district of Bogbottom, Phantasmagencia comes across a cult of Mitra, the Worm of Life and Death. Their religious art shows Mitra not with a woman's head, but with a draconic head. They embrace a mystery that this deity is dualistic, not only one of life and death, but also female and male. Among this cult is a priestess of Mitra, who is prophesied to birth the reincarnation of Mitra, but she is 40 years of age and seems to be sterile. She and her husband have never conceived. Pyros the fire sorcerer seduces this priestess in secret and has relations with her. Phantasmagencia goes on to undertake numerous adventures. These journeys are as mystical as they are perilous. Anji's guile and fast cunning are only outshone by his audacious daring and his incredible knack for narrowly escaping death. Permanent death, that is, for Anji dies and is revivified multiple times, and even reincarnated once, miraculously reforming in the body of a silvery high elf. much like the dream he had years prior. His exploits are many and often unbelievable. He is sliced in a blade trap chamber in the royal crypt, burned in an acid plunge trap in Bogbottom, and cursed by a gem of undeath in a ruined temple of Rodelm the Scarab in Jaya. A spirit knight comes to his service after he draws a card from a deck of many things. He confronts and masters his dark side at the Shadow Temple, and he learns various forms of combat techniques and magical abilities throughout the years. Other brave and wondrous souls join with Phantasmagencia on certain adventures, such as Anji's own sister, Twyla, who has gained abilities with Fey magic, and the storm-wielding battle priest Galvanos, and the honorable and celestial blessed Elka, both of whom hail from the brumal northern realm of Naperna. During a peculiar quest in western Jaya, Phantasmagencia finds their way to the palace of Tarknoten, who was the last king of Gorthael Koth. There they discover the final remnants of the giants. Amongst the empty and forlorn halls, there are a few old stone giants and a number of Duergar and Oread retainers. They guard the Sphere of Elemental Earth, a powerful artifact controlled by the giants since time immemorial. Phantasmagencia cannot resist the prospect of such plunder. They issue a challenge to the giants, manage to defeat them in combat, though do not slay them, and steal off with the Sphere of Elemental Earth. They are not in possession of this artifact for long, for they are bested by the witches of Whiptail in the scrub wastes of Jaya. The hags take off with the elemental sphere, as well as the petrified body of Elka. They barter both of these to none other than the archfiend Nargoy. In return, they receive a squad of powerful demons to command. At this point in time, Phantasmagencia has made close acquaintance with Stragor Alexi of the royal bloodline of Magnaland. Stragor is a half-orc and has long suffered the taboo of his partial orcish lineage. Despite this apparent disadvantage, he has managed to rise to acclaim and honor in his realm, for he is a paragon of Illus the Lantern, blessed by that righteous god of light and wielding a legendary silver weapon called Solemnadriel. The Witches of Whiptail further manipulate Phantasmagencia by sending their most cunning fiends to steal away with Stragor's weapon. Anji and his comrades ally with Stragor on a hunt to reclaim his crescent-bladed armament. They break into a misbegotten dungeon where the demons are lurking, and in their rampage unseal an ancient sphere of annihilation. They strike down a number of the foes, take back Solemnadriel, and escape before the sphere disintegrates them. Unbeknownst to Phantasmagencia, the hags had used them to gain access to the Sphere of Annihilation. The witches wrest control over the sphere and deliver it to the one who had bargained with them to retrieve it, Nargoy. Phantasmagencia's wild raids ends when they meet their demise in the deepest sublevel of the Isle of the Labyrinth Lord. They gravely offend the Dwemer Enclave, bringing upon themselves the wrath of the Archmages and other powerful entities. Pyros, Paleos, and Galvanos perish. Yoni is sealed away, and Anji alone escapes, incredibly withstanding symbol spells and the onslaught of mighty foes. Nargoy's Incursion. For long years, Nargoy had puzzled over a tremendous problem. How could he launch a campaign in the mortal world without facing certain defeat for violating the Great Concordance? Entering the material plane would bring an impossible ethereal assault upon himself and his thralls, and the overseers would decree he be brought to justice in the celestial panopticon. Yet, the more this barrier seemed insurmountable, the more he desired to overcome it. There was no finer prize than the realms of Ichoros, and he would be the greatest ruler of all time, the one to bring ultimate order to the plane roiling with endless cycles of war, echoes of the gods who had battled for the world and bled into it upon their deaths. The answer came to Nargoy like a bolt of lightning. He must bring hell itself to Ichoros. and when he would travel outside of his region, he must wield a weapon great enough to destroy even spirits crossing over from the ethereal. He takes part in clandestine dealings with mortals during the Age of Conquest. These exchanges serve dual purposes. The knowledge and magical components he gains from them lead to the mighty arcane rituals he will perform, and the Alabons created by the various world factions will serve as a series of tests as to how such devices operate. The War of Three Dooms plays out, decimating large swaths of the world, all the while showing Nargoy exactly how he should construct his own Alabon. It takes decades of refinement, but the three-headed archfiend is nothing if not adamant. When all is readied, he and his highest counselors perform the terrible rituals. The first combines the frozen heart of hell, the sphere of elemental earth, and the sphere of annihilation into a singular artifact of unfathomable power, the Void Star Primus. It is the most powerful Alabon ever created. The second ritual merges Nargoy's domain with the material plane. He selects the most suitable location, the island of Fiendsarak, off the western coast of Jaya. It is the place in the world that most resembles his own region, due to its unusual frozen climate and fiendish corruption. Nargoy's tower of ash and frost spikes up from the ground, and a portion of hell spreads across the island like a canker upon the face of Ichoros. The Archfiend tours throughout the regions of Jaya, surveying firsthand its parched and blasted desolations. Whenever primal spirits descend upon him from the ethereal, the Void Star obliterates them at his command. He and his infernal army march to the 7 cantons of Hebu Town, where he crushes an attempt to resist him. Not only are his fiendish soldiers resistant to mortal weapons, but he and his commander's powers vastly outmatch those of the opponents. To seal the victory, he gives a single demonstration of the Void Star's power, an Alabon that does not expend upon usage and that can reduce anything to nothingness, be it physical matter, magic, or otherwise. Hebu Town kneels to the conqueror Nargoy, adding to his army. In the ensuing months, Nargoy's forces construct ships and strike against locations in Basagon and Magnaland. The Xanthos throne of Basagon, however, does not oppose Nargoy. In fact, their leaders have been in communication with Nargoy since well before his incursion. He is even the otherworldly patron of a number of their warlocks. Thus, the wealthy faction, led primarily by tieflings, grins at the prospect of sitting a high pedestal in the new world empire to come. The Iron Seal is the name borne by the allied forces of Nargoy and Xanthos. Along with them is the Basagonian faction of the Argus Legion, who joins with little enthusiasm, merely a cold tactical assessment that the Iron Seal will win the forthcoming war. Fighting intensifies as the weeks and months progress. Those who oppose the Iron Seal call themselves the Hands of Mitra, and are led by the Melissus Hold faction, along with the Labyrinth Lord. As was seen during the War of Three Dooms, Basagon is split from within, creating a dire situation of both internal and external threats. A looming terror hangs over the City of Mazes, for everyone knows that it is only a matter of time before Nargoy himself sails to Basagon to lead a full-scale invasion. The Infernal War. For over a year since the demise of Phantasmagencia, Anji has been in a hermit-like state in his birth town of Bralton, secluded within the mist-choked heart of Magnaland. His mother is pleased by his presence, and his sister Twyla abides there as well. The bardic mage Yoni is freed from his imprisonment by the Labyrinth Lord of Basagon, on the condition that he aid in the fight against the Iron Seal. He uses sendings to communicate with Anji, and to inform him of how the Infernal War threatens to subjugate the world under the rule of a diabolic empire. Anji and Twyla make their way to Kostroma with the aid of Reknarog the Blightwalker druid. They meet with Stragor Alexi, who has already been involved in battles against the tiefling forces of the Iron Seal, with mixed results. They form an alliance, and Anji creates a new mask made of mithril. They lead an offensive against an Iron Seal company and achieve victory. Then they meet with one Captain Rojas Spoorbeak, whose crew sails out of Dreckengrim. They are able to navigate the blight-misted Sea of Dreams because their ship, the Levengouger, has a lantern of white flame at its prow, which repels the arcane blight, much like the beacon in Anji's village of Brawlton. Captain Rojas is a daring treasure hunter and adventurer, and he informs Anji and Stragor that there are in fact many of these beacon pillars throughout Magnaland, which safeguard pockets of the land around certain towns. He refers to the magical white fire as Monoflame, and says that his ship's lantern is the only instance of it that is mobile. Stragor receives a vision from his patron god, Illis the Lantern, which hints at his destiny. With the aid of Captain Rojas, the party travels by sea northwest to join the fight against the Iron Seal in Niperna. When they arrive, they are astounded to find that the invasion of the mighty North has caused an immense unifying effect between the Brumathane and the Drengir, the two major Nipernian cultures that have historically been enemies. The battles in Niperna are harrowing, as the tiefling forces are accompanied by devils, but the Iron Seal is thwarted. Anji and his allies are joined by Hravanag, a powerful Nipernian warrior mage of a heroic bloodline. He aids Yoni in accessing arcane lore, and from this, Yoni masters higher magic. One expression of this is a spell that can shift the party into wind forms, such that they can fly over land and sea at a tremendous velocity. Through his lore mastering process, Yoni learns that this spell was originally created as a gift from the Jai dragon goddess, Chimaria, the mother of wind and sea, and first given to her son, Shexanthacor Vivelius. In wind form, the party travels across the world to Jaya. They go to a mythic pagoda temple in the Kaharaya Mountains known as the Chaste Redoubt. Here they gain an audience with the Ancient Ones, and learned that Chimaria's dragon son is still alive. He is more commonly known as Greywind. He is many centuries old, and he dwells within the burnt realm of Jaya, having survived the War of Three Dooms. Anji, Stragor, Yoni, and Hravanag, through their efforts, win the Ancient Ones and Greywind over to their side, as allies in opposition to the Iron Seal. They travel with the dragon to Basagon and are amazed at how fast he flies, having the speed of the windform spell while still maintaining his shape and his fighting abilities. The party and Greywind are received gladly by the Hands of Mitra and heralded as champions. The fighting between the two sides in Basagon City is a bloody war of attrition, and Nargoy is en route by sea with a trio of massive infernal warships attended by an armada. When he arrives with his army, his lieutenants, and the Void Star, the conflict will shift dramatically in favor of the Iron Seal. The Hands of Mitra, however, have two particular strengths. The first is the Labyrinth Lord. As a mythic being and the Grand Architect of Basagon, he is able to shift the many mazes of the city and therefore sequester enemy forces or lead them into death traps. A major drawback is that the longer he remains outside the depths of his island, the more he draws the attention of primal spirits, who muster from the ethereal to assault him for offending the Great Concordance. His existence in the world is something of a gray area. As long as he remains in the chambers far below his isle, the spirits leave him well enough alone. The second advantage is a reincarnation of Mitra, the Worm of Life and Death. She was born from the priestess of the cult of Mitra in the subterranean district of Bogbottom. A few years back, when the priestess fornicated with Pyros the dragon sorcerer, she conceived. She gave birth to a daughter with a large mouth and a scaly, serpentine body without limbs. Even though the child is only 3 years old, she is already prodigious in size, over 30 feet long from head to tail. She is a goddess, or perhaps an aspect of Mitra, and all worship her, despite how she is wildly immature, to the point of being nearly uncontrollable. And she hungers. She devours with a hunger that never quells. Food, animals, even people. She had recently been unleashed against a squad of the Argus Legion, and she consumed them in their horror. As with the Labyrinth Lord, there is a tremendous problem in that her presence draws the ire of the ethereal. When she is kept well below ground and secluded away, the spirits do not move against her. The prelates of the Melissa's hold are in agreement that once she grows in power, even hiding her away will do no good. Crinth, the high prelate of Melissus, relays a particular anecdote of observing Mitra devouring a spell that was cast at her. Anji's party persuades Crinth to allow them to test this phenomenon. The clerics who attend the goddess reverently prepare her. Yoni and an archmage from the Dwemer Enclave cast spells at her, ever stronger in degree as they proceed, and Mitra swallows them all, invigorating from the energy. The final spell is Disintegrate, cast by the Archmage. Mitra consumes it as readily as she did a cantrip. Her excitement comes to a dangerous fervor, and those gathered are forced to draw away from her. They hatch their plan on the spot. When Nargoy reaches Basagon, the hands of Mitra will engage him and his forces, and Grey Wind will fly out from a hidden location, carrying Mitra swiftly to the Void Star, where she will devour it. As cataclysmic as its power is, surely it will be eclipsed by a goddess. She will then wreak havoc upon Nargoy and his forces until the primal spirits muster against the Archfiend and the deity. The Battle of Basagon and the reincarnation of Mitra Satsil. 1 week later, Nargoy and his armada reach Basagon. Fighting within the city of mazes has continued at its terrible pace, with bloody strife in all major surface districts, as well as in certain underground districts. The Xanthos throne and the Argus Legion are elated at their emperor's arrival, seeing it as a certain victory to come. All others shudder at the thought of the Archdevil, with his infernal legions and his Alabon of unprecedented power. The warships and other vessels arrive at Bastion Port, which is controlled by the Argus Legion, though currently contested due to the war. Before the invaders can reach the piers, magical assaults ensue. Archmages of the Dwemer Enclave launch tremendous explosions, and Yoni capsizes one of the warships with an upheaval spell. Furious to respond, Nargoy draws closer and sends the Void Star thrumming through the air. As he issues the command for the Alabon to annihilate the mages, Grey Wind erupts forth from a concealed position, clutching Mitra the Worm in his foreclaws. He reaches the Alabon with hurricane speed, and the fledgling goddess devours the Void Star at once. Mitra whips about, and her maw opens wide. A vortex pulls everything nearby into Mitra's gullet, including Grey Wind. She surges with an overwhelming pulse. In that moment, the deity transforms into a complete state. Mitra Satsil, goddess to god, with mithril scales gleaming, limbs stretching out, and wings spreading. Mitra the Worm had been a fragmented portion of the spirit of Mitra Satsil, and now he is fully reincarnated with a new body and replenished power. The mad ramblings of Anji's father now align into majestic clarity. From his jaws, Mitra Satsil unleashes a blast of force that tears through Nargoy's troops, sending soldiers and commanders back to the pits of hell. Nargoy's most powerful warlock casts a plane shift that recalls him, the Archfiend, and a few of the lieutenants back to the Tower of Ash and Frost. Among the ranks of the invading forces, Anji and his allies come across Elka, their paladin ally, though she has been transformed into a twisted state through infernal rituals. Lamenting her horrific misfortune, they strike her down. The Battle of Basagon wages for a number of days, with the iron seal quickly crumbling. With the full strength of an elder god on their side, the hands of Mitra claim victory. The Luminous Procession and the Keepers of the Silver Flame. Mitrasat Seal, the mithril dragon, rewards the heroes who played their fated roles and brought about his reincarnation. He resurrects Elka in a celestial form, and she takes up the title of True Silver Justiciar. He appoints Anji as his exarch and imbues his mithril mask with wondrous powers. He also gives Anji 2 pieces from his own body, a scale that serves as a hovering shield and a fang that serves as a mighty sword. The dragon god finds it more and more difficult to remain in the world. He is under constant assault by primal spirits, and the overseers are in continual contact with him, pressuring him from across the plains to abide by the Great Concordance. After nearly 3 weeks, Mitra Satsil ascends from Ichoros to dwell within a palace on the astral plane. The party of heroes makes their way north to Drekengrim, where Stragor commences a great undertaking. He persuades Captain Rojas to hand over the Lantern of Monaflame from his ship. Following the mystical guidance of Stragor's patron deity, Illus, he leads the party on a pilgrimage from place to place, wherever Monaflame burns. First at the Lonesome Lighthouse, off the Cairn coast in Drekengrim, then throughout Magnaland, at various towns and villages that have Monaflame beacons. At each of these sanctuary pillars, the white fire enters the lantern that Stragor bears. As the mists of the arcane blight will certainly billow in once the heroes leave any given town, Yoni opens a magic gate to Basagon each time, a great spell bestowed upon him by Mitrasat Seal. These populations are transported from Magnaland to a district in Basagon City known as New Starbreeze, which is in a flurry of construction. This luminous procession plays out across the great realm of Magnaland, with Stragor and his allies traveling from beacon to beacon, collecting the Monaflame until all of it has been gathered. The elder god, Illus the Lantern, then reincarnates in a tremendous convergence of divine light. The Monaflame had been the fragments of his dissipated spirit. Whole again, he bestows his blessing upon the heroes and appoints Stragor as his exarch. He emboldens the heroes to seek out the Tower of Ash and Frost and to strike down Nargoy for good. Illus does not remain in the world, but immediately rises to the astral plane. During his ascension, his glorious radiance burns away the blight mists from Magnaland and the Sea of Dreams. He takes his place as a star constellation which shines over the northern portion of the world. The party of living legends thus adopts the name, the Keepers of the Silver Flame. The Battle of Hebutown and the Assault of Nargoy's Tower. After weeks of preparation, the Keepers lead an offensive against Hebutown in Jaya. The battle there is short and intense. The main resistance comes from the Ogres of Cinderween Canton, the Hobgoblins of Farron Canton, and the Minotaurs of Brasshorn Canton. The Dragonborn of Dragus Canton also hold the Keepers in contempt for the sacrifice of Grey Wind, son of their mother goddess Chimaria. Anji attempts to win them over, as he is exarch of the dragon god reincarnate, and he himself was also reincarnated in his pale silvery form. While he does not gain their alliance, he prevents them from taking part in the fighting. The Keepers of the Silver Flame and the Basagonian forces achieve victory in Hebutown. The Keepers then make their way to the frozen Isle of Finsarak, which is currently a domain of hell brought into the world. Against unbelievable odds, they effect a righteous assault against the Tower of Ash and Frost. Tieflings, Duergar, Minotaurs, and devils of all kinds defend the strategic points throughout this gauntlet of dread. A lake of black ice, a frozen ridge, the tower gate, the silent halls, the ritual chamber, the pit of darkness, and the throne room. The forces of evil have overwhelmingly higher numbers: symbol spell traps, infernal lieutenants, and Nargoy himself, with all his nightmarish archfiend powers. But despite such immensity, the fiends meet their doom. The Keepers of the Silver Flame vanquish them in a battle beyond mortal comprehension. Nargoy's very spirit is destroyed. The heroes exhibit peak mastery of their abilities, wielding mythic armaments and thriving with the investitures of gods. They return to Basagon as living legends, veritable demigods. The establishment of the Basagonian Empire. In accordance with the will of Mitra Sil, Basagon declares the establishment of its empire, with Anji as the Mithril Emperor, also known as the Dragon Emperor, who rules from Basagon City. The empire includes large regions of Magnaland and Niperna, as well as Hebutown and Jaya. Colonies are also established, such as Goldenfield in eastern Linenapwa and Amal Jadi in eastern Jaya. Stragor Alexi is crowned king of Magnaland, and Hravanag is crowned king of Niperna. Thus concludes the Age of Conquest, and commences the Age of Requiem. As of the writing of this record, 13 years have passed. The laws of the Basagonian Empire continue to mount, with the Emperor and his council composing and articulating them in a most complex manner. He is sometimes in attendance at the Grand Colosseum, watching the games he so favors, the very games that he once competed in. He is both shadow and light, order and chaos, ambition and fate. His dragon-blessed spirit reveres those who achieve glory, skill, and wealth. His celestial nature, coupled with his strange background, makes him a singularly complex being. The Labyrinth Lord, whose original name is Roizav Lane, has bestowed his title and his staff to Yoni, who is now the Labyrinth Lord of Basagon. Roizav Lane henceforth dwells on the plane of Fairy, free from the pressures of the Great Concordance, for cosmic law allows Archfey on the echo planes of the material. In the present day, the Mithril Emperor struggles to unify the bewildering array of different peoples in Basagon and the wider empire. By principle and by law, the subjects are all expected to uphold fealty to the empire. But principle and reality are often very different from each other. The complications of ruling bring a level of pressure that even an exarch is troubled to bear. But it is a new age in the world of Ichoros, one of exploration, of reclaiming relics from scarred lands, and of continuing the mythic legacy of the Myriad Legends. I hope you've enjoyed this glimpse into the world of Ichoros and the Myriad Legends campaign setting. If so, please consider checking out the links below. I create D&D books based on this setting, and I even have an upcoming Kickstarter for the newest one. It's a thrilling campaign in which the Mithril Emperor and the Labyrinth Lord are holding the great games in Basagon, City of Mazes. Thank you all for watching and listening, and I also want to give an extra special thank you to the patrons who support this channel over on Patreon. Their names are featured here. You guys make a tremendous difference in allowing me to do things like lore videos and other more in-depth content. Until next time, my brave companions, may your adventures be many.